There we go. You should have sound now. Sound okay? Which is a really good question. So that should be on there. Oh, sorry. I'm on so many pieces of software that settings, here we go. As you can tell, I'm not at home, which is probably why, well, it is why we're having problems. Audio mixer, here we go, microphones. Well, that is not the primary microphone. 1 second, general settings, microphone. There we go. That should be working. There we go. So kill that, and there we go. Jesse, thank you. You're hyping it up when I have no sound. Can you tell me if the sound... Okay, thank you, Bran. I'll show you where I am. Before I go live everywhere else, TikTok, I'll quickly show you. Let me spin the camera. Whee, there we go. I'm somewhere that is sunny, because as lovely as the UK is at the beginning of January, there are nicer places to be. So let me make sure I've got the sound on everywhere. So the mic is on Osmo Pocket, cool. To backstage here. And so we're going to go Osmo Pocket, and microphone is Osmo Pocket. Okay, and then I'm going to share the screen. It's going to be this one, and then I'm going to go live. And then I'm going to, I know it's accessing my screen, it's very unhelpful. Can you go away? Thank you. And then I'm going to make this smaller. Sorry everybody, this is very boring for you. And then I'm also going to go live on Instagram, but that looks terrible on Instagram. Oh well, who cares? We don't care about Instagram that much. Oh, I see why it's gone wrong. There we go. That still looks weird on Instagram. Right, Brown says, I can hear you now, fantastic. Jesse, I'm going to tap to build up hype, thank you so much. Have you got to try AWS new DevOps agent? No, I haven't. So I don't do much of that kind of back-end stuff. From the people I know who use it, mainly other content creators, but a few people who work in the industry as well, I hear it's pretty good. The thing is, if you're already using AWS, you don't really have much choice which agents you're using. You're going to use whatever they have built in. But I hear it's decent, but I haven't tried it out myself personally, so I can't speak to it. Right, I think we are good to go everywhere. It's a bit of a mess because I'm streaming in multiple places and I am away. Let me show you one more time where I am. I am currently in Cyprus, so it's sunny. Not in the UK, where it is incredibly cold and miserable right now. But we are back. It is the new year. Right, let's kick off properly. I've been faffing around for 4 minutes. Good morning, everybody. This is AI with Kyle. It is Monday, the 5th of January. It is 2026, and we are moving into a new year. The news has been relatively quiet for the last couple of weeks, which is to be expected. It has been the new year. We had the acquisition of Manus by Meta, but apart from that, it's been relatively quiet. What has been happening, and I don't know why, well, I have some theories, but all of a sudden, people have got very excited about Claude Code. If you spend any amount of time on Twitter or on Reddit, and it's starting to seep out onto other social media as well, Claude Code has suddenly become the thing. Suddenly, a lot of people are discussing Claude Code. Claude Code has been fantastic for the last year or so. Basically, since it came out, it has been a very good coding agent. All of a sudden, though, people are like, oh, Claude Code's very, very good. And people are finding other uses of it outside of coding, outside of programming, and realizing, oh, okay, wow, this is maybe the closest we have to AGI, artificial general intelligence. Now, I love Claude Code and I use it every day. I have multiple agents running. I have one running right now. However, I know for a lot of people, especially if you've just been using ChatGPT, getting up to Claude Code, working with Claude Code is very intimidating. So I wanted to spend a bit of time today talking about what Claude Code is, whether you should invest some time learning about it, even if you aren't a coder, and the answer is yes, spoiler. And then I'm going to show you how you can use it, how you can get it installed, how you can access it, etc., and point you in the direction of a few different guides that can help you to learn how to use it. As with everything with AI though, it's just about using it and upskilling by playing around with it, honestly. Don't just read, you need to get your hands dirty. Before I kick off with that, I'm giving a live webinar tomorrow, so Tuesday, and on Thursday. It's going to be 6 p.m. UK time. I've got it up on the screen right now. No, I don't. I've got it up on the screen right now. It's going to be a webinar about giving workshops to businesses. So it's my belief that in 2026, we are moving out of a period where companies are experimenting with AI and kind of messing around with it. And now they need to see some return on investment. They need to see their AI efforts actually leading to something. So I think it's going to be a huge year for artificial intelligence training. For the last year or so, companies have basically been giving their staff access to AI, the good companies at least, and saying, yeah, work out what you can do with it. Now they've realized, we need to take this seriously. So I think 2026 is going to be absolutely massive. McKinsey did a study and they found that I think it was 95% of companies said that they need AI training, and only 1% of staff members had said they'd been given sufficient AI training. That's a big gap. That is a huge gap. So I'm going to be talking about how you can start giving AI workshops, how you can start to talk to your particular industry, super important, and helping them get on board with artificial intelligence. So I'm giving a webinar tomorrow, Tuesday, 6 p.m. UK time, totally free, and on Thursday, 6 p.m. UK time as well. I've also been busy over the new year, put together a masterclass which walks you through this as well. So they both work together. The webinar is going to be, you can ask questions, it's going to be live, I'm going to be talking you through it. But there's also a masterclass that I put together on my website that you can do, which has a video guide talking about how to start giving workshops. And then it has a written guide and 3 interactive tools that you can use to actually implement this kind of stuff. This is available on my website. If you follow the link in my bio on social media, you'll be able to find this and get access to this. The really big thing, let me see if I can find it, because you might be listening to me now and thinking, well, I don't know enough about AI, like I don't have a PhD in machine learning, I'm not technical enough. We don't actually need more technical trainers. What we need are people like yourself, people who have a grounding, a background in your particular industry. We need more people like that who can actually communicate with other people about why AI is important and why they need to pay attention. I did some work with a charity and I went in and I gave them some AI training, but I noticed at the beginning they were very kind of hesitant. They're like, oh God, we don't really want to be here. And I picked up on that energy and I was like, oh, what is it about AI that you're not, that scares you, that makes you feel intimidated? And they're like, well, we had this guy come in, we'd got some money from KPMG, and with that money came some AI training, and KPMG sent in this guy and he had 2 PhDs. He had written a textbook on machine learning, so he's like really smart guy. He talked to this charity, the board of this charity, about neural networks and backpropagation and gradient descent and the how of how artificial intelligence works. And he left them feeling more confused about AI. I went in and I basically said, can you use WhatsApp? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, you can use ChatGPT. And then got them all onto ChatGPT and got them starting to use it. A lot of companies are still at that stage where they are not using AI, or they're using it in a very naive way, and we just need to help them out. So what you need to do is draw on your background, your domain experience in your particular industry, and go and help people with the particular use cases, the workflows, using the language of the industry. Go and help them with artificial intelligence. So I'll be talking about that more in the webinar tomorrow. And there's a couple of guides on the website as well. So make sure you go and check them all out. Use the link in my bio to get access to those. I think we've got a couple of hundred people coming to the webinar tomorrow, so it should be fun. Right, I'm gonna hop in and talk about Claude Code as promised. Let me quickly look at the the comments, Claude 4, Claude Code, Claude 4.5 Opus specifically. Yeah, Bran, actually Bran, you've, both Jesse and Bran are way ahead of me here. So I'm going to be talking about Claude Code. Bran, you've mentioned a senior agent at Google said they'd been working on a project for the last quarter, plugged it into Claude and solved the issues in less than an hour. So let me find her. She is, here she is, Yana, I think it's Yana Dogan. She says, and this is not shit posting, she says, I am not joking and this isn't funny. And she means this. We have been trying to build a distributed agent orchestrators at Google since last year. So she works at Google. She is specifically a principal engineer at Google. So she's pretty high, very high. She knows what she's doing. There are various options. Not everyone is aligned. I gave Claude Code a description of the problem and it generated what we built last year in an hour. So this is important. This is a Google engineer. This is not an Anthropic engineer. Anthropic are the company who made Claude Code. Specifically, it's a guy called Boris Journey. Boris made this thing called Claude Code, which we're going to be talking about and why you should be paying attention. This principal engineer at Google, their competitor, used Claude Code to work out something that Google had been working on for a year. It built it in 1 hour. So you'll be seeing a lot of stories like this popping up all of a sudden, and there's a reason for this. And Jesse has hit the nail on the head. It's something called Claude 4.5 Opus. Opus is their new model from Anthropic, and it is good, really good, like step change good. It's so good that Andrej Karpathy, he's one of the, let me see if I can find it, one of the co-creators of ChatGPT. He created ChatGPT. He had a crisis of confidence the other day. Let me find his tweet because it's fascinating to see. I covered it in the newsletter before, but it's worth looking at again. So Andrej Karpathy, super smart guy, super smart guy. Because of Claude Code, let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Because of Claude Code and Opus 4.5, he put out a tweet a few weeks ago saying, I've never felt this much behind as a programmer. The profession is being dramatically refactored as the bits contributed by the programmers are increasingly sparse and between. Basically, a lot of the elements of coding, a lot of the elements of software development are being replaced by Claude Code. I have a sense that I could be 10% more powerful if I just properly string together what has become available over the last year. This is something we call the capability overhang. Basically, the AIs are getting better and better and better and better every month. We are not. Us humans, we're much more, or much slower in how we adopt these new technologies. We're still catching up with what happened a couple of years ago, working out how to use this stuff. And this is Andrej Karpathy. This is a very smart guy at the lead of this field. So if you feel, if you lack confidence about your abilities with AI, don't worry, it's not just you. It's people right at the cutting edge as well. And remember that people in businesses and other industries, people who are not watching my live stream, who are not watching social media about AI, they're even further behind. So this makes me excited personally. This is really cool because everybody's in the same ship thinking, oh my God, what do we do? So Andrej goes on and basically says, clearly some powerful alien tool was handed around, except it comes with no manual and everyone has to figure out how to hold it and operate it, while the resulting magnitude 9 earthquake is rocking the profession. Roll up your sleeves to not fall behind. And that has 16 million views. And then a few days ago, as pointed out, Yana, the principal engineer at Google, said, Claude Code just did what has taken our teams at Google 1 year. It did it in 1 hour. We're at a point where coding has basically become a solved problem. There are more elements in software development. There is engineering, there's the architecture, there's a lot more to it, but the code part itself, putting together each line of code, is close to being solved, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time. So I want to look at Claude Code and get you started using it. If you are somebody who programs, if you're someone who codes, It's quite easy and you'll know how to do this already. So this isn't really for you. This is going to be for people who have been hearing about Claude Code and wondering, what the hell is that? And then they've gone to the Claude Code website, which looks like this. And it says at the top, built for engineers, built for programmers. And then this is the first thing. You need to copy this curl dash fssl https claude.ai/install.sh pipe bash. And you're meant to copy that and you're meant to put that somewhere. But if you have never programmed in your life, if you have no idea what any of that means, that's a stumbling block. You will get to this page and you'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? And I don't blame you if you just bounce off that and you do not ever experiment with Claude Code. I want to help you over that hurdle because Anthropic have a messaging problem here where they're making it far too complex for people to access it. And we can use Claude Code not just for programming, not just for coding, but for all projects. That's why this is very exciting. I want to quickly look at this dude. Here we go, Pietro. He says, Claude Code isn't just for coding. I fed it my raw DNA data from an ancestry test. So they give you a CSV file that has all your DNA in it and used it to find health-related genes I could keep an eye on. The file is massive, but the ability to search what matters makes it possible. So if you gave this file to ChatGPT, for example, it wouldn't be able to do this. Claude Code, however, will be able to work out the best ways to chunk it up, to analyze piece by piece, to know what to look for, to build scripts, to find the information, etc. It will work all of that stuff out for you. So this isn't just for coding problems, this is for any problem you have. If you are writing a non-fiction book and you need help kind of structuring that information, if you need it all in a project where it's creating folders and creating drafts and keeping notes, etc., you can do that with Claude Code. If you are building, we don't even have to build, if you're doing research, for example, you can use Claude Code for that as well. Claude Code can be used more for more types of projects than just coding. It will use code and it will build you little programs, but you don't necessarily need to think about it. So it is widely more applicable for more people. And the skill of using it is not just coding, it is being able to manage. So this is why it's really exciting, and you do need to kind of get a grip of what's going on here, because this is the most exciting thing in AI right now. There's a guy called Ethan Mollick, he's over at Wharton University and he's a AI educator, and he says, when you see how people use Claude Code, it becomes clear that managing agents is really a management problem. Can you specify goals? Can you provide context? Can you divide up tasks? Can you give feedback? These are teachable skills. So it's not about programming knowledge. It's not about knowing Python. It's not about understanding C++. Increasingly, it's about managing. It's about leadership. It's about being able to thinking systems and set tasks for these agents, these AI agents like Claude Code, to go off and do for us. That's really exciting if you are not technical. So let's jump in and have a look about how you can actually access it. There are three main ways to use Claude Code. So they have them all on this page. So one is going to be inside the terminal. The terminal looks like this. So if you ever use DOS, DOS is probably the best example. You'll know what this looks like. So if you're a bit older like me, you might have used DOS. You might have had to use C:\/ to turn on games and stuff when you were a kid. Very cool. If you can use the command line, you'll be fine. You can just grab this piece of code here, shove it into your terminal, press enter, and it will install Claude. Boom, done. However, I'm going to assume most people look at this kind of thing and they're like, ooh, what the hell's that? I'm not using that. Absolutely fine. The second way is via an IDE, basically a development environment. I personally use something called Cursor. So Cursor is not free. Cursor is 20 a month. I think I pay 60 a month, I forget. But that gives you a whole piece of software which you install on your computer, which will help you with like the file structures, help you with connecting to GitHub, I'll talk about that in a moment, and give you basically an interface where you can see your code, you can see everything, you can drag things in, you can drag in images, you can make folders, etc. It gives you a visual interface. That is slightly more user-friendly than doing it in the terminal, because the terminal doesn't really give you that development interface, a development environment. Instead, it's just text. It's just you and text, which is pretty intimidating. So that's the second way you can do it. If you are doing it this way, you can use Cursor. Cursor is absolutely fine. I use Cursor personally. Or you can use something called Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is free. It is open source, so you can download it on your computer. And then you're going to install the Claude Code plugin inside of Visual Studio. So specifically, if you come back to this page, on the Claude Code main install page, there's a little drop down and it has a VS Code plugin. It looks like this. Basically, you install VS Code on your computer, like you'd install any piece of software. Then you come to this page and click install, and that's going to put Claude Code into VS Code. Slightly more complex, but definitely doable. What I want to show you though is Claude Code on the web. So the third way to do it is on the web. So you can access it through your telephone, and you can access it through a browser, so in Chrome, for example. I'll show you what this looks like. So if you come into your Chrome account, not your Chrome, Claude account, on the left-hand side, there'll be a little code button here. Now, this is only available on the paid plans. It's not available on the free plan, as far as I know. That might have changed. But this code button here will basically open up a web interface for Claude Code. Fair warning, this is not as good as using it in the terminal. It's not as good as using it inside of VS Code or inside of Cursor. I couldn't say exactly why it's not as good. I think it's a harness problem. I'm not going to go into details, but it is not as good. You will not get as good results. However, it gives you basically a chat interface. So if you are used to using ChatGPT, you can do it inside of Claude Code. There's one little hiccup though, because before you can do anything inside Claude Code, it's going to ask you to connect to your GitHub account. And again, if you've never used, if you've never programmed, if you've never coded, you're sitting there like, what the hell is a GitHub? Like, I don't have a GitHub account. Do I need to pay for that? What is that? GitHub is basically, I'm simplifying this, and I know anyone who's a developer will crucify me for this, but basically, GitHub is like a type of cloud storage for your project. Your project is going to live inside of this cloud, which we call GitHub, and changes are going to be pushed back and forward, or pushed to GitHub and pulled from GitHub into wherever you are developing. Oversimplifying, but that's what we use it for. And it's something called version control. So GitHub is really powerful if you have multiple people, multiple engineers, multiple people in your business working on a piece of software or working on a project. You need something called version control so that you don't conflict. You don't all push different versions of what it is you're building to the same repository, which will cause problems. So GitHub allows you to deal with that problem. You don't need to worry about that too much right now. All you need to use Claude Code in the web is a GitHub account. That is free. So you come over to github.com, you sign up, you can sign in with Google, you can sign in with whatever, and then you're going to be on this page and you're going to click new. I'll do one right now. So test Claude Code. There we go. So I'm just going to make a repository. Boom, done. We're going to ignore all of this. We're going to come back to Claude Code Web, and I should now be able to choose it. Once we've connected, there we go, test Claude Code. So I'm now in my new folder, my new project that lives inside of GitHub, but I work with it inside of web, Claude Code Web. So let's think about it. I'm gonna show you what Claude Code can do. I'm gonna go ahead and just start a project and put it into that test repository. So what can we do? I'm looking around me now. I'm looking around me, there's some oranges out there. If somebody can help me think of a test project, I'll go ahead and do one. Oh, actually, let's look at what Peter Yang says. Here we go. So Peter Yang suggests a couple of starter projects. So I'll put this in the newsletter tomorrow so you can explore building a movie discovery app in 15 minutes, building a YouTube research agent in 15 minutes, building a family activity finder in 35 minutes, Yep, that's cool. So these are example projects. Family Activity Finder. So what I might do is, so I'm moving to Cyprus. I'm currently in Cyprus right now. Later in the year, I'm relocating here fully. That's the story for another time. But what I might do is quickly build an application, because I was looking for one yesterday, that allows for the tech community of Cyprus to post all of their events and share details. There does not seem to be one, so I could build one very quickly. So I'm going to talk to Claude Code as I would talk to my normal ChatGPT. Now there are better ways to do this. I'm going to put this guide here, which is the Y Combinator Guide to Vibe Coding. I'm going to put this in the newsletter so you can read it. But you see, they start with create a comprehensive plan, review, refine, scope control, implement it incrementally, etc., etc. If you are doing this properly, you would plan and you would carefully prepare. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to jump in just so we can see what it can do. So I will say, I don't need that. Let's say I want to create a web app, so something that lives on the web page, for Cypriot tech community members to allow for events, meetups, etc. to be organized. We want user accounts, organizer profiles, events. What else do we want? And let's say we want to make some money from this, and sponsorship, paid opportunities. What I'll do, because I'm not doing the plan fully, I'll say, let's plan this first. So I'll just chuck this in. I'm using this very casually. Generally, I would actually create my plan elsewhere in Claude, and then bring it into Claude Code. But I'm going to go ahead and use it in Claude Code. Now, what's happening here, and this is why it's very different to ChatGPT. ChatGPT or Claude, normally you just have your chat interface, and you're going to work in the chat interface, and you go back and forward, back and forward. It's not going to be, normal ChatGPT or normal Claude is not creating files for you. It's not creating a project and writing code and connecting everything together and putting it in file folder structures. That's what Claude Code is doing for me right now. So right now it is working in the background, actually putting together a project for me. It's going to start creating files for me. This means that we can build software. And this is why it's super, super powerful. Again, you don't have to use it for just for building software. You can use it for anything you want, but it will use code to solve the problems that you provided. So that is doing it in the background. While it's doing that, I'm going to hop over to the questions. Sorry, I've been talking consistently, but let's have a look and see what's in questions. Do you think professional writing and professional prompt writers would be paramount over developers? No, I think developers would just be learning more how to prompt. So increasingly, they will be doing their development work inside of these type of tools. Because developers, as I mentioned, coding is close to being a solved problem, but coding is just one part of software development. There's also, well, one, working out what it is you actually are going to build. That's kind of important. Two, the architecture, the structure, knowing what the different pieces, what modules you need to put together to create something that's successful. Then there's testing, making sure it works. There's also something that a lot of people forget, which is actually building something that people want. So the marketing element of it, actually building for a user. So rather than just jumping in and building something for the fun of it, which is what I'm doing right now, which is totally fine as a toy project. If you are building professionally, you need to build for your customer, for your client. So these are still very, very important skills, and developers will be able to focus more on that kind of stuff. So it is now putting together a plan. So it says, this is a great project since it involves multiple architectural decisions, tech stack, authentication, payments, database design. Let me enter plan mode to thoroughly explore the options and design a solid implementation approach. So it is working out how to do it for me, and then it's going to respond with a plan, and then we go from there. Dodie says terminal training. Yeah, so What we're doing right now, doing Claude Code in the web version, is the simplest version. It's the easiest because it looks like ChatGPT. If you've never kind of delved into how computers work, this is the way to do it. If you are more familiar, go ahead and use VS Code, and you can use Claude Code inside of your development environment. If you are even more comfortable, you can use it directly in your command line interface. So on Mac, that is something called Terminal. I can't bring it up on screen, but I'll show you what it looks like it looks like this, where's it gone? I've lost it. It looks like this thing here, which for a lot of people is absolutely terrifying. And the idea of working with an AI and something that looks like this is intimidating, and I get that. It is the most powerful way to work with Claude Code, but it is also inaccessible for a lot of people, which is why I kind of want to show a couple of options, different ways for you to do it. Let's have a look what Claude Code is doing. So notice it's taken a while, and it will. So I will often set Claude Code a task before bed and say, hey, I'm going to bed. This is a big problem I want you to work on. I want you to work on it, test it, make sure it's working. And then when I wake up, I'll review your results. And it will work on a task for 40 minutes, an hour. That's really cool. I know it feels like it's taken a long time, but that's because it is carefully working its way through and ensuring that it's actually done the job properly. So sometimes that takes a long time, but I'm okay with that because the quality is so high. Claude wasn't great for me, it's just too slow. So Codex from ChatGPT is interesting, because Codex is slower. So I'm okay with Claude Code being slow as long as the results are good. One thing that inside of the web version that you're seeing right now, you can't actually see what it's working on. Whereas if you're doing it inside of Cursor, you can see the kind of the steps bit by bit by bit. So right now it's just saying spinning, discombobulating, inferring. So it is going through a thought process, but I can't actually see what it's doing, which is a bit annoying. So you'll see a lot of people online talking about, so what do you do while Claude Code is working for you? Like, do you play a little game on your phone? Do you read a book? I saw one guy who does 10 press-ups every time he's waiting for Claude. He's going to be jacked because I spend all my time waiting for Claude. Vim and NeoVim for me. Yeah, Vims look great. Deeplearning.ai has some great courses on this and other AI topics. Yes, thank you. That's Toro. Let me put it up. Deeplearning.ai is fantastic. And they've just moved off Coursera. Was it Coursera or Udemy? They've moved off that now and they've made everything available on their website, which is great. If you are looking for a really basic one, there is it for everyone? Nope. Yes, these two, Generative AI for Everyone and AI for Everyone are really good basic ones. So Generative AI for Everyone is the one that I recommend. Generative AI is the modern AI, like ChatGPT, whereas AI is a much wider subject that's been around since, well, the 1950s, although the idea has been around for longer. But this is a really good introductory session, Generative AI for Everyone, and it's free as well. Thank you. You can install Claude, Terminal, and SSH and connect your MCPs all in one place to Docker Desktop. Yes, you can, 100%. You can do a lot of really cool things. I'm trying to avoid all that kind of stuff on this live because it's a really powerful tool that a lot of people are scared of because they hear MCP, they hear SSH, they hear command line interface, and they're like, oh, I can't do any of that. So I wanted to show it in the web version at least. So the guy called Boris, where is Boris? Here he is. So Boris actually built Claude Code. So he works at Anthropic. He's just Claude Code at Anthropic. So he posted, I'm Boris, I created Claude Code. Great first sentence. Lots of people have asked how I use Claude Code, so I wanted to show off my setup a bit. My setup might be surprisingly vanilla, so basic. Claude Code works great out of the box, so I personally don't customize it that much. Sorry, who was it just said? This was Bran. As Bran said, you can do a huge amount of customization in Claude Code. You can connect it to servers, you can connect it to different tools, you can put it inside a container in a Docker, etc. You can do a lot of really cool things. What Boris is saying is, I don't really do any of that. And this is the guy who built Claude Code. He says it works pretty great out of the box, and I don't personally customize it that much. There is no one correct way to use Claude Code. We intentionally built it in a way that you can use it, customize it, and hack it however you like. Each person on the Claude Code team uses it very differently. And then he actually runs through how he does it personally. So this is his kind of basic setup. He has 5 Claudes in parallel in his terminal. So he runs it in terminal, and he'll have 5 different agents going off and doing their own thing at the same time. You can have many, many, many of them. People have pointed out that it's great for Boris because he has unlimited usage of Claude Code. If other people, if us mere mortals were to do this, it might cost a lot of money. So he starts with 5 Claudes in parallel in his terminal. He also runs 5 to 10 Claudes on the web version in parallel with my local Claudes. As I code in my terminal, I will often hand off local sessions to web or manually kick off sessions in Chrome. So he's going back and forward. So he now has 10 to 15 different Claude codes all working for him at the same time. He uses Opus 4.5, so that is the model inside of Claude Code. So you can either use Sonnet 4.5 or Opus 4.5. Opus is the more powerful one, and it's the one that everyone's got more excited about recently. It is also more expensive. It's the best coding model I've ever used, yeah. And even though it's bigger and slower than Sonnet, since you have to steer it less and it's better at tool use, it's almost always faster than using a small model in the end. So as we said, we are now waiting for Claude Code to work through this task. It's taken a long time. It's been 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe. It's taking a long time. We could use a different model. We could use Sonnet, for example, and it would get it done faster, but the end result might not be as good. So what Boris is saying is he uses the highest end model. It takes a longer time, but you're going to get a better result, and you're going to have to work with it less. There's less back and forth afterwards. So it's up to you how much control you want over the process. And then he goes into a few more details. I will put this into the newsletter because it's a really interesting insight into like the father of Claude Code, how he personally uses Claude Code. What is also interesting is that they develop Claude Code using Claude Code, which is getting very close to the idea of a self-improving artificial intelligence. Obviously, Boris is still there, starting up the sessions. Does he need to be? Not necessarily. So I will include that whole discussion in the newsletter because it's a good one. Wow, that really is taking a long time in Claude Code. James says versioning is important in AI coding to save, commit working changes and revert when you break it. Yeah. So at the kind of earlier on, for the people who are not familiar with this technology, I showed you GitHub. So GitHub will allow you to basically create versions. It's going to track all of the changes, and you can use that to roll back. There are revert tools inside of Cursor, inside of VS Code. You can probably revert in the web version. Actually, maybe not. But if you use GitHub and you are regularly committing your changes, saving your changes basically, that allows you to roll back more easily. So it's kind of good practice. Lani says, hi Kyla, just signed up. Thank you, Lani. Do you use agents, sub-agents, MCPs and skills? Yes, to agents and sub-agents. MCPs, not as much. I've used them for very specific things when I need to get something very specific done. So like the Google AdWords MCP, when I want to connect into their data, I'll 100% use that, but I don't generally use them. I use skills more than MCPs. I just find them a bit more lightweight. So for anyone who has no idea what we're talking about, an MCP is, oh gosh, it's, I don't want to explain it as it's basically an API, because that doesn't help you if you have no idea what an API is. An MCP basically allows me to connect Claude code to other tools. So in the example of, I was building a tool that allows me to, I was building a piece of software that allows me to pull data from Google AdWords. Now, I could manually import that data in a CSV file. I could create a piece of software that goes to the website and kind of looks around and it pulls information off. But Google AdWords or Google have created something called an MCP, which allows my software, my tool, to connect directly. So it sets up a connection so they can talk back and forward. So MCPs allow you to do that in a very kind of structured way when you are building pieces of software. So you can connect them to your Claude code. Skills are basically, skills are a little folder full of instructions that are used multiple times. So you can, I think the best way to think about it is if you had a team of staff members, human staff members that worked for you, when you onboard a new member of staff, you probably give them some documentation saying, hey, this is what the task is, this is how you do it step by step, this is what a good output looks like, this is what a bad output looks like, and basically giving them the structure of their new role. It's onboarding material. A skill is a bit like that, where you dump all of that information into one file, into one folder, and when Claude Code does whatever that task is, it's going to go and check those skill documentations and then apply those skills during the task. And so it just allows us to get better results from Claude Code for certain tasks. I think that's an okay description. Digital Owl says, is this better than anti-gravity? So anti-gravity is an IDE. It's from Google. The best thing about anti-gravity right now is that it is free. So anti-gravity, I think it's still free. Let me check. Anti-gravity, yeah, individual plan, $0 per month. We like that. This is because anti-gravity is new. So anti-gravity is a competitor to Cursor, but it's made by Google. And right now it's free. I'm sure it'll be paid later. And they also give you free access to, let's see, Gemini 3, Claude Sonnet and Opus, and GPT OSS, which is ChatGPT's open source model. So because of that, really cool, you get free access. If you wanted to do that with Cursor, you're going to be paying $20 a month. So anti-gravity right now are trying to pull away users from Cursor who can't afford that $20 per month, which is fair. I assume at some point they're going to start charging. I think gravity is fine. Personally, anti-gravity, I think it's fine. Personally, I didn't find it exciting enough to move from Cursor to anti-gravity. But I'm also fine paying that $20 a month or $60 I pay for Cursor. But that said, Cursor's been around for a year, 2 years, whereas anti-gravity is brand new. It came out last month, so we'll see what they do. Yeah, Paint Mixing says Google AI Studio is fast and honestly very good. Google's in a weird place where they have too many vibe coding tools. They have Jules, they have Opal. I'm not sure if Opal has been released widely. They have Google AI Studio, which has a build mode, which is basically vibe coding. They have anti-gravity. So they're doing a very Google thing, which is throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, basically. They're all decent. They haven't become my day-to-day because I mainly use Claude Code and I mainly use Cursor personally, but they're still very good. So this demonstration of Claude Code in the web has not gone very well because it has spent 30 minutes doing absolutely nothing. I will say I don't use the web version for this reason. It has got stuck on me before, and I do not know if this is stuck or if it is still working on something, which I think is it's a user interface problem that they need to fix. I have no idea if this has crashed or if it's genuinely taken this long to do the task, which is a shame because this Claude Code Web is kind of the entry point for non-technical people. And this is why I don't use it. I use it in Cursor or I use it in the command line interface. However, this is the easiest way to get access. So that's still applicable. But hopefully you don't run into problems like we just have here, because this is not working at all. What I'll probably do is a proper screen share where I'll show you how it works inside of Cursor. And then we can move much, much, much faster, because this is not a very impressive demonstration, sadly. Very sadly. Perfect, exactly what we need, more scammy AI classes. So yeah, Novi, I think what's happening, what's fascinating this year, or at the end of last year, 2025, is we moved from people thinking that AI wasn't very good. So initially, for the last couple of years, and with good reason, a lot of people could look at AI and they could be like, this sucks. We're safe. I don't need to worry about my job as a programmer because the code sucks. I don't need to worry about my job as an artist or graphic designer because the images AI creates sucks. I don't need to worry about my job as a musician because this stuff sucks. For the first couple of years, this was 100% true. And we have things like Will Smith eating spaghetti from a couple of years ago, which was horrifying. We had weird DALL-E. So DALL-E 2 was the image generation model when it created these twisted face monstrosities. We had coding agents that created absolute spaghetti code, like absolute nonsense. So for a couple of years, it was very possible to basically deny that AI was going to be a problem because the argument was it's crap. And a lot of the outputs were crap. They were genuinely crap. What is happening though is increasingly, and you're seeing this in different industries, different areas, different domains of expertise at different times, people are realizing that, it's actually really good. This AI is very good at making images. It is very good at making videos. It's very good at writing code. This is happening at different rates in different areas, and we call this the jagged frontier inside artificial intelligence. It doesn't develop at the same rate in all the same places. And I think what happened at the end of 2025 with the release of Opus 4.5 from Claude and Claude Code is the programmers finally realized, like, oh shit, here it is. This is now a real risk to what it is I do. And people are going to be realizing this at different rates in different industries. This means that we've seen the arguments against AI shift. So there used to be, oh, it's rubbish, it will never be able to do this. That was a very easy argument to make. That argument has now shifted because people have realized, no, it's very good. So I need to think of other arguments. So now the arguments are, it's destroying the environment. It's making people lazy. It's going to take jobs. What are the other ones? Gosh, there's plenty of other ones. There's electricity, there's water, it's going to take jobs, it's going to make us lazy. Obviously, things like deepfakes, we can't believe what we see anymore, etc., etc. So we're moving on to different arguments. The argument is very rarely now, it's not good enough. It's not good enough is an argument that has collapsed as the AI's got better, and they are continuing to get better. So 2026 is going to be more interesting in terms of the argumentation, because we can't just deny it. We can't just deny its existence or deny it's any good, because it really is. So people are going to have to come up with better arguments against it. Claude is actually acting like a human and ChatGPT works like a robot. Yeah, I really like Claude. Claude has been my kind of go-to model for the last couple of years, really. It's one that I use for most of my work. Obi Rennie says, I'm so behind in tech. I can never keep up. So I showed slightly earlier Andrei Karpathy, a tweet from him. He is the guy or one of the co-creators of ChatGPT. On the 26th of December, so just after Christmas, Andrei Karpathy put out a tweet basically saying, oh my God, I feel so behind. So this again is one of the co-creators of ChatGPT. He's at the forefront of his game. he feels behind. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling behind in this technology, you're not alone. Like, even the creator of this technology is like, ooh, gosh, what's going on? So I think that if he's having a crisis of confidence, it's okay for us normal people to also feel a bit overwhelmed. And it's fine. It's a fast-moving technology. It really is. The thing, I mean, I mentioned this a bit earlier, but next week I'm giving some workshops about this, or I'm giving webinars about how you can actually take your AI skill and your domain knowledge of whatever industry you work in, and you can go and teach businesses, and businesses pay very well. My average is around $2,000 per hour, so it's £1,500 per hour for giving a workshop. The most I've charged is $4,000 for 1 hour. So businesses right now are panicking because they also feel behind, and if they don't catch up, they're going to be taken out by competitors who are using AI or new entrants. So right now there's a huge opportunity to kind of, I mean, it sounds cynical, but to take advantage of the fact that everyone is feeling overwhelmed. If you can work it out for your industry, if you can become the known person in your industry, whether you're talking to, teachers, whether you are talking to social workers, to government employees, whatever it is, if you can become the person who goes and educates and helps companies, help organizations, that's a really good position to be in. So next Tuesday and next Thursday, I'm giving some live webinars about this. There's a link in my bio. There's also a free masterclass on my website. Again, follow the link in my bio, you'll be able to get access, but it's basically a video overview of how you can start to teach artificial intelligence. Even if you are not a technical expert, you don't need to have a PhD. In fact, it gets in the way of being able to communicate why this is important. And there's also like a written guide and a couple of interactive tools to help you. There's one, for example, that helps you structure your first workshop, your first 60-minute workshop. Another one that helps you work out what your niche should be and how much you can get paid. So that's all available via the link. But yeah, don't worry, you are not the only one who's feeling behind. It's okay. Master CFC, what is the best path for someone with no AI or code experience to get into AI? Honestly, just start playing around with it in your daily life. There are courses, there are ways to learn. I personally have lots of courses on my website. This is all free. If you go to aiwithkyle.com, there's a huge amount of stuff here. Too much, in fact, about 100 different playbooks. Honestly though, just start experimenting and using it in your daily life and working out what it can be used for and what it's not useful for. That's a skill that just comes from practice, from using it on a daily basis. So the first thing you do is you replace Google with it. So instead of thinking, oh, I looked this up on Google, see if you can do that with AI. You're not always going to get the same result. It won't always be as good, but that's a decent first start. But then you can do a lot more with artificial intelligence. So with Google, we can ask questions and we can get answers from it. That's fine. And we can use AI to get answers. That's no problem. What AI is really good for, though, is learning how to ask better questions and challenging ourselves if we want to use it in that way. I actually put together, if you go to AI with Kyle, where is it? And then on the front page, there's Get AI Ready in 5 days. This is a free course which basically walks you through how you can start to get a foundation in using AI. And it starts really basic. Like the first step is literally how to download ChatGPT. So super basic. And then it goes on from there. And hopefully is a useful starting point. China's really worried over their investments. They turn to the Confucius Institute for advice. One drug dealer in the hand gets you more excited than others in the bush. I'm not quite sure what that means. The Confucius Institute is a language learning institute. Well, and culture, I suppose. There are so many tools right now and it's getting crazier. Yes, if you go on something like there's an AI for that. Let's have a look at this website because it always cracks me up. So this has excuse me, 44,000 AI tools for 11,000 tasks and 5,000 jobs. Okay, that's cool. It's interesting. Most of the time, most of the things you can do with AI, you can do with ChatGPT or Claude. Sometimes you'll need something that's a bit special. Like if you want to make slides, for example, there's something called Gamma. Gamma is very good, much better than ChatGPT or Claude. But most of the time, 80% of the tasks you can do with ChatGPT or Claude. The only other kind of big one I'd talk about is Notebook LM. I love Notebook LM, which is really good if you're trying to learn something. Very cool tool. I maybe use, what do I use? I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I use Claude Code, I use Cursor, I use Notebook LM. That's kind of it. I play around with everything else. I try things out, I experiment with it, but 80–90% of my work is with those 5 tools. So yes, there's a huge amount of overwhelm. Yes, if you try every single new tool, you will get absolutely snowed under, but most of the time you don't need to. So go for an 80–20 here. Use the really good tools like Claude Code, and don't worry too much about all of the other new stuff. Because otherwise you will get snowed under. I've made an app in Lovable. I now need to figure out how to make it a mobile app. So Lovable, Lovable's great. I love Lovable. I went and visited them in Stockholm. It's not the best tool to make mobile apps. What you'll need to do is use Capacitor. I think it's Capacitor. Yeah, here we go. You can use this. So Capacitor will allow you to basically convert your Lovable app into a mobile app. The reason I say it's not really the best tool is Lovable primarily builds web apps, things that work on a website, so inside of Chrome, which is a very specific use case, and it tends to use something called Vite to make those applications. Again, it works for a huge amount of things and it's really useful. It's just not necessarily the best choice for making an app which is going to live on a telephone, because on the phone you're going to need it in a different language at some point. So Capacitor will basically, let me pull it up again, I don't know why I got rid of that. Capacitor will basically create a new version of your application, and it will convert it from Lovable into a phone app, which will work on Apple devices, so iOS, which is generally in Swift is the language. It will work on Android devices, and it will create something called a progressive web app. A progressive web app, which is it's a web app which has been converted into a mobile app, sort of, kind of. So definitely have a look at this. So drop Capacitor into any existing web app. So you would talk to Lovable and say, hey, I want to turn this into a mobile app. I want to use Capacitor. Just tell Lovable that, and it will help you get started. And then, yeah. So this is a problem a lot of these tech company have. If you're looking at the screen, this is very complex if you have no idea how to code, if you're only vibe coding. But again, just talk to Lovable and say, hey, this is what I want to do. How do I do this? And say, I've heard Capacitor is a useful way to do this. Can I use Capacitor? So that would be the way I would get it done. What do you think about bolt.new? So I test them all. Bolt.new is a vibe coding app. So there's Lovable, there is Bolt.new, there's Replit, there is Base44. There's probably some others I'm totally forgetting about. Bolt is probably lower down my list. I really like Lovable for fast prototyping. Lovable is probably my favorite. And Bolt, I mean, I haven't tested it for a few months, but every time I test it, I'm never as impressed with it as I am with Lovable. So for me, it's not as good. Again, though, try these things out. If you have an application that you want to make, if you have a web app or a phone app that you want to make, just try them out and see which one kind of vibes with you the best. That said, Claude Code, once you learn how to use Claude Code, it demolishes all of the vibe coding tools. It's just really, really, really good. There's more of a learning curve to get started using it. As we covered earlier on the live, it's just a bit more complex. Lovable is really easy to use. It's fantastic. I love Lovable for that reason. But once you learn to use Claude Code, it's so powerful that it's hard to go back to Lovable, to Bolt, to Replit, etc., because you lose that power. It's a shame majority of British people think AI is a scam. Yeah, Britishers. It is. Okay, so right now I am in, I'll show you where I am, for those who didn't see it. Whoop. As you can see, I'm not in Britain right now. I'm somewhere that's sunny, and there are oranges hanging from the trees. Britain as a whole, and I say this as a Londoner, a British person, we don't move very fast. We're not very progressive. And when new technologies come along, instead of grabbing them with both hands, which is what's happening in America and it's happening in China, and thinking, what can we do with this? This is really exciting. We tend towards fear and conservatism. So you see this with, I mean, in entrepreneurship in general, British people tend to be a bit more reserved. They don't like change. They don't particularly like risk. So something like artificial intelligence coming along and potentially disrupting everything, I think that kind of rubs against the British temperament of risk aversion. That said, we have people like Demis Hassabis, who heads up DeepMind. He's British, British Cypriot, I think, or half Cypriot. Funnily enough, that's a coincidence. Who are running amazing labs. But again, DeepMind now belongs to Google, because Google, the Americans, 10 years ago were like, you guys are doing great stuff. We're going to give you the funding. We're going to give you the resources needed to get this done. So America and China are running ahead with this. It's a two-horse race. Britain is basically out of the game, unfortunately, and the British public as well are skeptical. They don't like change. They're too busy moaning about other things. Blaming things on other people who are not themselves, to actually grasp hold of this opportunity and make something of the technology for their lives, for their community, for their family. It's just not really the British way. For those of you who are British, who are embracing the technology, congratulations, you are fighting our natural conditioning to not embrace the new. So yeah, I applaud you. What is the name of the site that shows all those AI tools for something? Yeah, sorry, I got rid of it quite quickly. It's called There's an AI for that. Literally, there's an AI for that.com, or Taft, TAAFT.com. We'll get you there as well. It's a bit overwhelming. I find this really interesting though, because so many of these projects have died. So you'll go through these, you go through the use cases, or the tasks, so creativity, productivity. Let's look at health, for example. There's 933 health ones. There are 16 sleep ones. Let's have a look at that. So these are sleep analyzers. And you can see how many people have viewed it, how many people have it, reviews, etc., etc. What happens though is if you look around and you go to their websites and stuff, so let's have a look at BedPage. Oh no, it's just a custom GPT. Oh, these are just custom GPTs. If you look at some of them, they will, a lot of them will be dead. They'll be dead projects. Because what's happening right now is it's really easy to build stuff. So we can use Lovable, we can use Claude Code, we can use whatever. We can build software really, really, really quickly. So we can make a product extremely quickly. What's not happening though, people are not working out the marketing. They're not working out if they're building something that people actually want to use. So it means websites like There's an AI for that basically become a graveyard for well-intentioned projects that never find a market because they haven't actually thought about the business process. So I find it fascinating for that reason. The enthusiasm and the ease of building stuff now is fantastic, and it has opened the doors, and it allows anybody to take an idea from their head and create something with it. At the same time though, people have not upped their game in terms of marketing, so they run into a barrier very quickly. So that's kind of the next step, is like, well, how do you work out marketing? How do you work out distribution? Again, I have a free course on that. It's called the Summer Camp, because I did it last summer, the 10-week AI Summer Camp, which is about working out your niche that you should focus on, working out what you're going to build, your business idea, vibe coding it, creating it. So that's half of it. And then it's all about marketing, selling, how to actually reach people, distribution, etc. Because those two go hand in hand. Being able to build is now so easy, so it's distribution that really matters nowadays. That's on the website aiwithkyle.com. That's free, so you can just hop in and grab that. Notebook LM is amazing. Yeah, it really is. Whenever I show it to people, they're like, "Oh wow, this is really cool." It's like, yeah, it is. But not enough people know about it. So Notebook LM, make sure you go and check it out if you haven't already. Am I logged in? Let me see if one thing that it can now do is, oh God, I have to log in. It can now do, this is a faff, it can now do presentations really well. So it uses Nano Banana Pro. Oh my God, it's trying to get me to verify. It uses Nano Banana Pro to, let's see, oh, I've got them, there we go, to create presentations. So there we go, that should be on screen now. So this is a presentation that I made using Notebook LM. We had a slow news day in artificial intelligence, and I was like, well, I'm not just going to come on and talk guff about nothing. So instead I was like, all right, I'm going to take one of my playbooks, an article that I've written, I'm going to quickly turn it into a presentation deck so that I can just talk about it. So I gave it, this article was maybe a couple of thousand words, and it created this presentation for me so that I could just come on the live and start giving this presentation. And this is generated in Notebook LM using Nano Banana Pro. And as you can see, it's good. It's really good. It's actually quite tasteful, which most AIs are not. And this was created in 5 minutes or so by Notebook LM. So really, really cool. If you are learning something, you can use Notebook LM to give you summaries, to ask you questions, to kind of guide your learning. Or if you're teaching something, you can give it the information that you want to teach, and it can create assets like this. This presentation, it can create quizzes and create mind maps, etc., etc. Really, really, really cool. So if you have not used Notebook LM from Google, I highly recommend it. The Notebook LM animated slides are really good too. Yes, it can make explainer videos, can't it? It can also make a podcast where it creates a synthetic podcast with two hosts, a male and a female, who talk back and forward, and they discuss the topic. So what I think is amazing about it is we all learn in different ways. So for me, it's very visual. For other people, it's very audio based. Notebook LM gives us the option to have all of those. So flashcards, quizzes, presentations, you can ask it questions, etc. Like really, really cool. So go and try it if you haven't used it already. And it's free because it's Google. What's your take on Grok? Yeah, it's fine. My take on Grok is it's not as good as ChatGPT, it's not as good as Claude. However, Grok and XAI has been around for, when did they, I think it's less than 2 years. So XAI was founded in 2023. In March 2023. So they're coming up on their 3rd birthday. To go from, what just happened there? To go from basically 0 to having a frontier level model, which is not quite as good as Gemini, it's not quite as good as ChatGPT, not quite as good as Claude, but to be even within spitting distance within less than 3 years, that's incredibly impressive, incredibly impressive. No matter what you think about Elon Musk, no matter what you think about, I just got disconnected. No matter what you think about Twitter or anything like that, what they've done is incredibly, incredibly impressive. That said, I don't personally use it for anything. And I don't know anyone who does. The only people who claim to are people on Twitter who are always going on about how great a model it is, but I don't believe it. I don't think that anyone's actually using it. So I actually just got disconnected from TikTok because I've been blethering for so long, and I think it gave me an inactivity warning, which I did not see, but that's fine. It's nice to be back doing the lives. It's been a couple of weeks off. So thank you for your patience with the technical issues at the beginning. As I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a couple of live webinars. I'm doing one tomorrow on Tuesday. I'm also doing one on Thursday. They're going to be at 6 p.m. at UK time. You can find the link in my bio. I'm going to be talking live about how you can become an AI educator, how you can talk to people in your particular industry, your particular niche, and get them up to date with artificial intelligence, and how you can get paid very well at the same time. So I charge about $2,000 per hour to go and give workshops. And I have students, other people who go and use my material, who are charging $1,000, a couple of thousand per hour. It's very, very doable. So I'm going to be talking about that on Tuesday and on Thursday. It's a free webinar, going to be live. You can ask me questions, etc. And you can find that using the link in my bio. So I'm going to hop off. I'm going to go and enjoy some sun, maybe have an orange fresh from the tree. I'm sorry for you guys who are back in the UK. I left a couple of days ago and I'm not regretting it. Thanks guys, and talk soon.